Hello, it's Gem Games here once again, and welcome to this new Unreal Engine 5 tutorial. In this video we're going to create this item inspection system that you can see here on the screen right now. So yeah, let's get started. First we want to go to the components folder and we want to create a new folder here. And let's call this inspection. Okay, let's open it. And here, what we want to do, we want to right click and search for a render target. Okay, and let's rename this to be RT underscore inspect. Okay, let's open it. Here, we want to change this size X to 1920 and size Y to 1080. So it's basically the full HD screen size. Okay, let's save and let's close. Now what we want to do is we want to right click and create a material. This material, let's call this camera inspect matte. Okay, now let's open it. And what we want to do, let's move this texture sample a little bit further. Okay, and let's click on the material node. Now let's go to the material domain and let's change it to user interface and blend mode to translucent. Now let's connect the RGB to the final color. Let's get the alpha and let's 1 minus it like this. Now let's connect this to the opacity. Okay, now let's save and let's close this. Now I actually think we want to move this material to the materials folder, or you can just leave it here if you want, but yeah, let's move it to the materials. Okay, next thing what we want to do is we want to create a new user widget. So let's select a blueprint class and let's search for a user widget. Okay, let's rename this to be W inspect item. Okay. Now, actually, I want to move this to the HUD folder. I don't know why I created it here. Now let's go to the HUD and let's create a new folder here, which will also be called inspect item or inspection, or it actually doesn't matter. And let's move the W inspect item to there. And also we have this W interaction icon. Let's create a folder for that. So let's call this interaction. Let's move the W interaction icon there. Okay. Now this inspect item, let's open it and let's open the W inspect item. Let's wait for it to open. Let's drag it and move it to the next to the third person map. Okay, and here what we want to do, first we want to add a canvas panel, like always. And then what we want to do, we want to add an image. Let's add it to here. Now let's anchor it to the full screen. Offset left 0, top 0, right 0, and bottom 0, like this. Now we want to change this image to this camera inspection material, like that. Now let's rename this image to inspect item. Okay. And the next thing that we want to do is we want to search for a blur, background blur. Let's move it to here. Let's also anchor it to the full screen. And let's zero out all the offsets like this, and let's set the blur strength to like 5, and also the set order, let's make it like -10, so it's always behind everything else. Okay? And yeah, the next thing that we want to do is we want to add a text. Let's move it to here. Let's anchor it to the bottom right corner to here. Let's set the size X to 50, size Y to, it can be actually 40. Position X 0 and Y 0. Alignment 1.25 and 2. Now I think it's good. Now I want to change the typeface to regular. I still cannot pronounce that. And justification to the middle. And also the text. Let's rename it to be press. And now we want to add the button that we will use to exit this screen. I will use the I key, like with the inventory. So I press I to text. And you can choose how you use these capital letters here. Like, yeah, I don't think they have any like real rule to them. But yeah, press I to exit. Simple as that. And we don't actually have to do anything else here. So let's compile, let's save, and we can now close this. So the next thing that we want to do, we want to go back to the components, to the inspection. Should we actually rename this to be inspect item also? So inspect item. So it's same on here on the HUD. Okay, let's open it. Now let's right click and create a blueprint class type actor, and this will be called inspect item. This will be the actual actor that we will control. Let's open it. And yeah, the next thing that we want to do, we want to add a static mesh. And let's call this inspect item. And also let's select the default scene root and let's add a render, target. What is it? Oh, sorry, it's scene capture component 2D. Okay, let's call this inspect camera. Yes. Now this inspect camera, I want to move this on the x-axis to -80. Okay, you can later on play with these values however you want, but this will be good for me. And now let's change the field of view to like 60. I think that's pretty good. And also the texture target RT inspect. Simple as that. Compile and save. Now let's go to the event graph. And what we want to do here, let's delete everything else than the event begin play. And here on the begin play, what we want to do is we want to first get our inspect item. And we want to set static mesh like this. And why is it not aligned? Okay. And this new mesh, we actually want to promote it to a variable. And let's just call it new mesh. And let's make it instance editable and expose on spawn like this. So now it will set the inspect item mesh to be the mesh that we want it to be. Okay. Next thing that we want to do, actually, let's not do it yet. Let's do it later. Yes. So let's leave some space here and let's right click and get get player controller, and from here we want to enable input. Okay, because we will disable the input on our player and enable it here. Okay, and then what we want to do, let's create this nice zooming effect like I'll quickly show you. Let's compile, save, and let's actually move this to here. So when we play and we click the right mouse button, it will zoom, like zoom, I don't know how to pronounce that. It will do like this. Let's add the same thing to this inspect item system. So let's go back to the inspect item and let's add a right mouse button, mouse event. So this one here. And should I leave a little bit more space maybe? Yes, like this. So right mouse button. So what we want to do here, we want to create a timeline for it. Press connect to the, no, not there. Control and move it to here like this. So from the pressed, we want to play, and from the released, we want to reverse. Now let's open it. Let's change the length to like maybe 0.5. And let's add a flow track. Let's add a key to the 0, 0 mark. Let's add another key to the time 0.5 and value 1. So it goes like this. Now let's click from here, right click, and let's change the key interpolation to auto like this. So it will smooth it out. Compile, save, and we can close this timeline. And we can just call this zoom TL or whatever. You don't have to call it anything. So now we have to get our inspect item to here, and we want to set relative no, that was incorrect. Set relative location, and from the update, let's move this to here, maybe. Yeah. Now let's split the new location, and what we want to do, we want to move this inspect item in this axis around minus 40. So let's get from the X, let's lerp. Now let's connect this new track to the alpha, so it will go in 0.5 seconds from 0 to 1. So from A to B, and the A will be 0 and B will be minus 40. Compile, save, and yep. The next thing that we want to do is we want to check if we are keeping the left mouse button pressed, so we can see if we want to rotate it or not. So let's add a left mouse button mouse event here. Here we can just create a new variable. Let's call this rotate, and it can be Boolean, or it actually has to be Boolean. We want to set it to true on the pressed and set it to false on the released, like this. Simple as that. And the next thing that we want to do is we want to go a little bit further down again. Here, let's right click and mouse XY and mouse XY to the axis like this. Now we want to promote this to a variable. Let's actually align it. And let's call this mouse XY. And after that, let's add a branch. So be a left click. And let's get to rotate. So we're checking if we want to rotate. So basically if we have our left mouse button pressed or not. And if we do, we want to continue. And what we want to do now is we want to get our inspect item again. around here, maybe here, and we want to set world rotation. Let's actually leave some space there. Now let's add a reroute here and move it to around here. Not aligned. No, it's good enough. Now from the inspect item, we want to get world rotation because we want to combine rotators. Combine rotators, and actually we have to move this even further, like this. And we will combine this rotator with another value. So let's split this B, and let's actually select this and press Q to align. And we don't have to connect anything to B. X, B, X, I mean. The BY and BZ, we want to get our mouse XY. Let's split it. And let's get the Y value first. We want to multiply it by, let's actually create a variable here, float. This will be called rotation speed, and it will be float. Okay, let's click on that. Let's compile. Let's set the default value to 2. Okay, and the next thing that we want to do is we want to get this rotation speed. We want to multiply it by -1. And let's actually move this to here. And let's connect this to here. So rotation speed 2 multiplied by -1, so it will be -2. We will multiply this y with oh, sorry. Yeah, let's actually get the x one first. So control press and let's move this to the x. Yes. So we're multiplying the x value of the mouse by -2 and connecting it to the z. So it will rotate it on the z axis. Now the y, let's also multiply with this same -2 value here and connect it to the y. Simple as that. So x to the z and y to the y. And the x here will be 0. We don't have to connect it to anything. Now let's connect this to the new rotation, and actually let's get this a little bit closer. Okay, compile. Let's actually save all. And the next thing, let's add where here. Let's add a I key. Okay, we can actually get any of the keyboard of these keyboard events. So let's get this. Click from here and click the key that we want to map it to. I will map it to I, like this. And here, what we want to do, we want to get player controller again. We want to disable input. And after we have disabled the input, then we actually have to go to the BP player character to continue with the code. And actually, I noticed I have made a little mistake here. We have to connect this to the player controller. So control pressed and move this to here, like that. So the target itself and the player controller is the player controller. And actually, same thing here on the start. Let's move this from the target to the player controller, like that. Compile, save, let's go to the trapezoid map, blueprints, BB player character. Let's close the aim function. And yeah, now we can continue. So first, let's create a new function. This function will be called start inspecting item, not star. I want to call it start inspecting item. Here under the category, let's call this inspection. So it's there. And now let's add a input here, and this will be called mesh. And the boolean, the variable type will be static mesh. Static mesh object reference, like this. Now we want to create a new variable, which will be called inspecting item. No, with capital item, like this. And also a category, which will be called inspection. Okay. Now here we want to just set this to be true when we start this or when we call this function. Then we want to get player controller, and we want to disable input, and we want to move this connection from the target to the player controller. Remember this every time we do this in this episode. So you want to have it connected to the player controller. And actually, I think we can make this code tighter like this. Okay, I think it looks a little bit better. We should also do it here, but yeah, let's actually do it also here. I don't know. Oh, here on the begin play, we want to leave some space. We'll do some things soon. Here also, let's move this to under here and like that. Okay. Let's save, actually save all, and go back to the PP player character. So after we have disabled the input on our target, so on the player, so where we'll disable our player controller's input on this player, basically. Next thing, we want to spawn actor from class. This class will of course be the, let's search for inspect item. And the collision handling override will be always spawn ignore collisions. And the new mesh the new mesh will be this mesh input here. So we can just get from it and search for a mesh. PP player character get mesh like this. Yeah. So it will be this one here. Now, when we open this, we actually don't have that yet. Why don't we have that? Okay, sorry. One thing we have to go or do on the inspect item. Let's go back there. Let's create a new variable. This will be called player ref. And I made a mistake, of course. So ref, like that. Now let's change the variable type to pp player character object reference. And let's make it instance editable and expose on spawn. Now we can compile, save, and go back to the PP player character. Now from here on the spawn actor, let's refresh the node. Now we have the player ref here. So let's get a reference to self. Simple as that. Now here on the spawn transform, let's split it, and let's actually move these to here now. We will have to set this spawn location to be outside this sky atmosphere. Otherwise, we will see the background on the widget. So how we can do it is let's set the set location to 1 billion. So 1 and 9 zeros. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. What I'm doing? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. like that. So it's 1 billion, I think. Okay, at least this value worked for me. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be this big, but yeah. Okay, it doesn't matter. Now, the next thing after this, we want to create the widget. So, create widget. I cannot type today. Create widget. This widget will be the W inspect item. And then we want to promote this to a variable, and let's call it W inspect ref. And let's move it to the reference, to the ref category. And now from here, we want to just add to viewport, like that. Okay, compile and save. And now we have to do a few more things. We create this inspecting item variable. So let's go to the can look, which is under the condition. I have both of them, can jump and can look, open here. Let's open the can look. And what we want to do here is we want to move this return node a little bit further, and we want to get a and boolean, and then we want to get our inspecting item and not boolean, and connect to here and this to here, like that. Now we can actually copy this whole thing, go to the can jump, delete this, move this further, and paste it. So the same thing here. Okay, compile and save. Now we can close the can look and can jump. And now what we have to do is, let's go to the event graph. Let's map a key, or like get a key. Let's get any of these and change this to like L. This is just for testing purposes. Now we want to call our start inspecting item, and let's set our mesh to like maybe flashlight. It actually doesn't matter. Let's do like this. Compile. And let's actually save all. Now when we play and we press the L, we get this flashlight here at the screen, and when we keep the left mouse button pressed and we rotate the mouse, you can see we can rotate the flashlight. But the pivot point of the flashlight is not correct. Let's actually, when we click the right mouse button, you can see we can also zoom to the flashlight. So everything is working except the pivot point of the flashlight is incorrect. So let's quickly fix that. So how can we fix that? We want to go to the models, flashlight. And now let's go to our level. Let's move the flashlight to there. Now let's change the selection mode to modeling. Let's scroll down to the transform where we have the pivot. Let's click on that. Let's click center here when we have the flashlight selected. Oh, center, and then accept. Now we can delete this from here. It has saved the pivot point on the flashlight. But now, when we play, we click F. You can see the flashlight is not correctly on our hand. So let's quickly fix that also. So let's go to the blueprints and to the animations. And let's just open any of these animations. Maybe the idle, it doesn't matter. Here we can click the skeleton. I think that's the easiest way of finding the skeleton. We can close the idle. Now here, let's preview animation and let's get the flashlight base pose like this. Let's go to here. Now we want to find our right hand and our flashlight socket. Click W so we can move it, and let's just move it to the correct position. I think it's around there. And if you click accidentally here and you'll lose the thing that you can use to move the socket, you can just click the socket from here again. Now you can move it again. So maybe like here. Yeah. Now save, close. Let's see when we play. Yes. Also, when we inspect, oh, wrong button. Now you can see we can rotate it, we can zoom, and when we press I, nothing happens. We haven't created that code yet. So let's close the game. Let's go back to the inspect item. And it's simple as here on the I, after we disable the input, we want to just get the player ref. And we want to, shit, we haven't created the code yet. I'm so stupid. So, sorry. Oh, why do we have 4 unsaved things again? So let's compile and save all, just to be sure, and still have 1. Oh, okay. So let's quickly go back to the PP player character. And here, let's create yet another function, and this will be called stop inspecting item. And let's also move it to the category of inspection. And here, get our W inspect ref, so our inspection widget ref. And let's remove from parent. So we will remove the widget. After that, what we want to do is we want to get player controller, and we want to enable input, and we want to again connect this to the player controller. So control and like this. So we will enable the input on this on our player character, and next we want to set our inspecting item back to false. Yeah, and yeah, let's compile, save, and let's play. Let's see. Oh, stupid me. Let's go one more time to the inspect item. Here we have to call this stop inspecting, otherwise it won't work. So from the player ref, stop inspecting item, and after that we also want to remove this, destroy this actor. Like this. Compile, save, and now when we play, press L, we can rotate it, we can zoom it everywhere we want, and when we click I, we can play again. But there is still a little problem. So if we try to inspect something bigger than this, let's go to the PP player character and to the event graph. Here, let's change this start inspecting item mesh to maybe this door. Compile, save, and let's play. Now, you can see it doesn't fit the screen. So how can we fix that? It is pretty simple fix. Now we can do it by here on the inspect item on the begin play where we left this space. We want to get the, let's move this a little bit further down, get the inspect item, and we want to get bounce, get component bounce under the collision, like this. Okay, and now from here we want to set world scale 3D. Let's set it here. Let's leave some little space and let's connect these. Let's add a reroute so it looks a little bit better. And now I want to align it, of course. So from the sphere radius, let's actually add a divide node here first. Divide. And let's connect this to the bottom pin here. Like this. So what we want to divide with what? We want to divide a value of 10 with the sphere radius. Now let's split the new scale. And let's connect this to all of these. So our flashlight's sphere radius is around 10. So if we use that as reference, it will set the scale to 1, and the door, if it's like 90 or whatever, it will divide 1 by the 90, so it will get a scale. So it's basically pretty much the same size as the flashlight on there. So it's always the correct size. Let's try it. Compile, save, and now when we play and inspect the door, you can see also here on the door we have the incorrect pivot, but it doesn't matter because we will never be inspecting doors like this. But you can see the scale is a lot better, and we can even change this to something bigger. Do we have this? Yeah, this Boolean thing on our level. Compile, save, and let's see. Now when we inspect that, yeah, you can also see. When we go back to the flashlight, it should be the same size as before. You can see we can inspect anything and it will always fit the screen. So yeah, I actually think that was all for this video. If you liked what you saw, please click the like button and subscribe for more. And yeah, hope you have a great day and see you on the next one. Bye.